Hello, eRank. Welcome to another live Q&A with me, Pam Duthie, her Starla Moore, and him, Anthony Wolf. Sorry.
It's a circus today.
Yeah.
It is a bit, yeah.
Hey, everyone. How are you, Pam? How are you, Starla?
Oh, I am spiffy. I'm just going through and getting everybody's comments ready to go.
All right.
I know. We work Starla too hard on these. I should actually pick up some more of the chat because I now have a widescreen. I can see stuff. It's great.
Looks like we've got a few people on YouTube already. Who's on there? Hello.
Hello. Let's see.
We've got someone called Anthony on there. Don't know who that is.
Who is that?
Let's see. Hannah, Ahmed, Josie, or Jose.
Yeah.
Josie,
Looks like we've got 14 over on YouTube and we've got 9 on Facebook. So maybe before we start dishing out super cool announcements, we'll give them a few minutes for their YouTube notifications to come in. But for those who are hanging out with us for the first time and you're over on YouTube, feel free to go ahead and get your questions into the chat. It will be a few minutes before we get to those because every Wednesday, Pam puts a post in the eRank group on Facebook. If you're over on YouTube, the link to that should be down below in the video description. But you guys can submit your questions early if you're ever afraid that you're not going to be able to join us live, or maybe time zones just don't permit it. You can post that. It'll always be pinned to our little group announcements on Wednesdays, and you can kind of cut the line a little bit. So we've only got 4 of those questions. We'll be covering those first. Anthony's got some really cool announcements, and then we're going to grab some questions from you guys in the chat. So we should have a pretty jam-packed Q&A today.
Absolutely. And get those questions in because we can pick, I don't know which side to point at, we can pick Anthony's brain. It's not often we get to see him. So me and Starla can just sit back because he knows all the stuff.
Yeah.
He's promised us there's no surprises, but I think that's going to be a lie. Someone's going to ask a question and he'll say something and you'll see me and Starla try and keep the face on going, yeah, we totally knew about that.
I'll let something slip, huh?
Yep.
All the questions. All right, let me see. So did we want to grab a couple of questions before you make your announcements, Anthony?
Let's do that. And let's do it.
Okay, well, we've only got 4 from the group from yesterday, so we'll grab those. And then everybody who's been submitting over in the YouTube chat, we will get to you guys in just a few minutes. So be sure to hang out for a while. Let's see. Don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm going to say that it's Ani, but I might be wrong. Feel free to yell at me. Hi, I'm a printables maker and struggling a lot with listing image quality. I don't take photos of my products. I download my printables as an image and add it to my listing image that I create in Canva. The old 2700 by 2025 advice doesn't seem to work anymore, and it looks awful on the app. Any tips for sizing and file types, JPEG or PNG, and resolution that will look good across Chrome, which tends to look extra fuzzy mobile in the app? I'm also not sure of the best resolution and file type to use for the image I download of my printable. So the cool thing about Canva is that as long as you're using Canva Pro, you can resize to a variety of different image sizes, but 2700 is pretty big. That's very big. That should not be blurry at all. That is a very large image. And Etsy resizes those images. And from, everything that I've tested, I've crammed images in there that are like 5,000 pixels wide, and Etsy still will resize those smaller. The issue only seems to be if your image is too small.
The only thing I can think of there, Starla, is that perhaps the compression on the images when they're being saved is really high. And that can create a blurring effect. So you might want to look at the compression.
Yeah. PNGs are going to typically give you a higher quality image. So I always, especially when it comes to things that are high detailed, I usually go with PNGs. But yeah, that image size, I'm going to Google it and see if Etsy's updated anything about their image sizing, and maybe it's just slipped past us.
The other thing I only know this because I'm that dummy, but I had a free Canva account and I would open the file size in what I thought I was creating a file size in. But when you go to save it on a free account, if you're going bigger than Canva thinks you should, it would scale it down. And I'll be like, why is everything so fuzzy? So check you're saving at the resolution you think you are. But I think that's only an issue if you have a free account.
Yeah, I'm getting at least 2,000 pixels wide on the shortest side and a resolution of 72 ppi. So there really shouldn't be that much issue if your images are 27,000 or 2,700. I mean, that's really weird. That one might be one that you have to play with a little bit.
Yeah, I still think that could be compression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. All right. Isabella asked, does your business name have to be something that people search for or SEO optimized? I make birthday and seasonal outfits, and I want to change my name from Bella Creations to Piggles as I feel it would reflect my brand better. Bella Creations was fine when I was listing everything and anything, but now I don't feel that it works with my niche. What are your thoughts on marketing names and logos? Well, most people aren't searching for you by shop name or discovering you by shop name. And I don't know about you, Anthony, but I don't see very many shop names that are all keyword optimized in the top sellers report.
There are a couple, but
Yeah.
you know, they're like the Coke and Pepsis of the Etsy world, so kind of makes sense for them to do it. I think for smaller shops, it's probably more important just to have a cute name or
I like
memorable
Piggles.
name. And then if it takes off later on down the track, then great, optimize for it.
Yeah. Danny, if people were already searching for you under your old name because you've built that up as a brand, then it might be a little more work to change it. But I think you've got the thumbs up from us that we kind of like your new name. It sounds cute. So.
Yeah. I think that that's way more memorable. So, and it'd probably be easy to brand it as well. Courtney asked, how long does it take a listing to gain traction? I've done the SEO research for all of my listings before I design and used high search keywords that describe my items. I have so many listings that show these as their stats. And then she has a screenshot with 0 visits, 0 favorites, 0 sales, 0 renewals, 0 revenue. This one in particular, I know is a high demand niche product. Are these listings showing up and people are just not clicking on my listing? Is that what a visit is? Someone clicking the listing?
Yes. Firstly, a visitor review is someone clicking. There is a little secret where you can get more data from Etsy that most people don't know about. If you go into marketing from your dashboard, search analytics beta, then you get to see a list of keywords and that has impressions by them. And an impression, impressions what they use on Etsy. An impression is where someone searched for that term and your item showed up on the screen. So if you're getting a lot of impressions and no visits, then you're being shown, but nobody's clicking. So that's a cool way to see things. But in general, there's sort of no time. If everything's good, you will be seen pretty much straight away. I've made sales within minutes of listing things without doing anything. But there could be many other reasons why you're not getting visits that I think Starla and Anthony can cover.
Yeah.
I'll let it go. So if it's a relatively new listing in a fairly new shop, it is a little bit harder for you. So it takes a bit of time to build up a bit of trust. Etsy have plenty of sketchy sellers out there which try and rip people off. So they will pop up very quickly and take money from people and disappear. So to try and minimize that, they've applied pretty harsh or strong rules to new shops and new listings. So you need to give that a bit of time. You got to build up a little bit of trust there. The other bit I was going to say is also keep an eye on the time of year, because if you're trying to sell ugly Christmas sweaters right now, the warm-up time for that's probably 9 months or so. So you have a think about seasonality. that's another thing to keep in mind. Starla, that's all I've got.
Don't be impatient with your keywords. It can take a while, and it could be something else, especially when we hear sellers talk about getting views, but then those views not converting. Sometimes it can be something as silly as swapping out your thumbnail for a different image. It is crazy how one change to your image, or the angle that your product is sitting, or the background that you're using, or what props that you have sitting around your product can influence how people actually see that item, even if the item itself doesn't change at all. I've told this story a couple times, but I had a necklace a few years ago where the shopper could select their birthstone, and all of the birthstones were listed in a little kind of key down the edge of the thumbnail photo. And on a search page, you could see all of the options that you had to choose from when you made your selection. But the example that I had used topaz because I listed it in the fall. I thought fall colors. Well, that listing never, ever, ever sold. So all I did was swap out the crystals for that thumbnail to aquamarine, because I read somewhere that people prefer, blue when they're faced with a bunch of options. I can't even remember where I saw it, but I tried it, and that listing became one of my best sellers. And that option had been available from the start, but because the thumbnail example that I had utilized topaz, nobody clicked on it. So, play around with things. You can safely change out your thumbnails. We always have people ask if it's going to reset their listing. No, you can swap out your photos and play around with those. You just don't want to mess around with the tags and titles and keywords of listings that are doing well. But if you're not seeing results that you want from your listings, you can't break something any further. That's all I got for that.
That's a good lot of all you've got. Hopefully that was helpful. Yeah.
All right. Lynn said, let's see, is it still not advisable to put your Etsy shop on vacation mode in order to not lose your rank in the algorithm? I don't think that was ever anything that we've said.
Yeah. Etsy does say, and it is the truth, if your shop's in vacation, then you're not making sales. So if you're in a highly competitive niche, you could lose a little ground as your competitors are making sales and getting reviews and everything. But it doesn't break your shop. I think I had my shop in vacation over Christmas for about 6 weeks because of the postal strikes in the UK. Took me about 2 days to get into having one of the best Januaries I ever had. So
yeah, it's any listing that is not available for shoppers to interact with. Etsy wants to see those positive signals. They want to see shoppers interacting with those listings and finding them in search and buying them and reviewing them and, poking around your shop. And when you're on vacation mode, you don't have the ability to do that. But it's no different than if all of your listings were to be, if you deactivated them or if they all sold out for some reason. The point is that that listing is put away somewhere where shoppers cannot access it. And really what most sellers say, and Pam, I'm sure that this was the case for you as well, is that once that activity starts coming back, which you can funnel it to your shop from social media, you can host a little sale, hey, everybody come to my shop. You can start to kind of wake those listings back up a little bit. And like Pam said, it doesn't take that long to wake everything back up and start getting noticed again. And you had said something about what do you do when you unexpectedly have a family emergency? You put your shop on vacation mode and you deal with the family emergency, because that is way more important.
Yeah, we all have to live, and you can't work 365 days a year. I'm sure we've all tried it. You can't.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd add there is that if it's just a short vacation or something, you're having, just extend your processing time a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work in family emergencies. You've got to focus on more important things in that situation.
Absolutely. Okay, so those were our questions from our Wednesday post. We've got 37 over on YouTube and we've got 18 over on Facebook. So those are fantastic numbers. But Anthony, it's up to you if you want to keep answering questions or if you want to, do you want to save your fun stuff till the end, or do you want to show them now?
You know what, let's get it out of the way because it may trigger more questions. So March is a very interesting month for us and other sites like eRank because Etsy are retiring their API, which is their system that allows us to communicate and download data and process it and give you reports and things like that. So their old system is being retired at the end of the month, and they've got a new system, which we've been working on for about the better part of a year now. Some of it we've pushed out into the site, you wouldn't have noticed. Other bits we've been holding back because we want to time it right. And anyway, that deadline is now looming. And so we've started to make some changes, mostly behind the scenes. Nearly all of it is behind the scenes, which you won't notice, other than maybe a few little things I'll talk about. So coupled with that, we're making, well, eRank's always working on new things to make life better, improve usability, accuracy, whatever it is. So we'll talk about those as well in a second too. But specifically with the Etsy changes, the big thing that you might notice at the end of this month is the bad buyer checkbox on the dashboard. That's going to go away. So if you've been using that to check if that buyer is a legitimate buyer, not someone that's trying to scam you, that's going. So that's something that Etsy, they've removed the ability for us to download the reviews that a seller has left elsewhere. So kind of sucks if you know, you want that extra level of protection for your shop. If you want, I would suggest you reach out to Etsy and say, you know, please allow eRank and other sites to access the buyer feedback information. That will help us maintain this service for you. But as it stands right now, it is going away at the end of March. So that's the bad news on that front. That's the one that it kind of irks me, because I like providing services that can help you guys just be protected from the sketchy buyers that are out there. There are some. On the positive side, we've got access to a lot more data now. So that's really cool. It means that, for instance, our top sellers database is now huge. So that's excellent. We're about to release that. So now you'll be able to get better insight into shops that are in your niche, and so on. Now, there is a downside though, and that's going to affect people that have some bragging rights, I guess. So those people out there that are, you know, in the top 1%, or maybe in the top 100 shops, or top 1,000 or top 10,000 shops on Etsy, a lot of you, your rank's going to go down. So that kind of sucks. Don't be surprised if you see you're, you know, in the top 0.5%, now you're in the top 1%. That's just us adding all this data in and making it available now. So that's it's probably going to emotionally hurt people more than hurt their business, because it's immaterial. So you may lose, some of you may lose some bragging rights there. But don't fret or worry about that, because it doesn't affect your sales. It doesn't affect your ranking or anything like that. It's purely ego bragging rights, motivational sort of things. So it's going to get reset. We'll probably do that next week. So just be wary of that. So yeah, might get a little bit of a bruised ego there. Let's see, what else have we got here? So there are some other changes. These are more subtle, but in the keyword tool and keyword explorer, we're applying some changes in there. Nothing really to report at this stage there, but we'll have more interesting stuff soon there. The competitor sales, so we've got some really neat little updates in there. So it's going to be faster now, which is nice. I think that will be released probably Monday, and so it'll just be nice to see it respond better. We've got another little cool thing which I'll talk about in a future Q&A. So there'll be some other neat little enhancements to the competitor sales just around the corner there. So that was that. And the last thing, and this is not Etsy related, but the timing's kind of appropriate. We've been working on ways to provide better customer support. So, you know, the team do a good job, but we're a little bit let down by the software that we use. So we're switching to a new platform that is very well used and adopted by many massive companies on the internet. So I'm looking forward to that. We're in the process of just fine-tuning the system, updating some help files. It's got one thing that I'm particularly interested to test out, which is chat support. So we're going to experiment with that a little bit over the next few weeks to see if it helps. If we can give you answers to your questions more or less in real time, in theory, it sounds good. So hopefully it works well. Hopefully we don't get a few jerks on there being rude to the team, because that's not cool. So that was it. That was the stuff I wanted to put out there, let you know. Like I said, the buyer check's going. Your sales rank will be rejigged a little bit, so don't be too distraught by what you see there. It's now going to be better and more accurate. And these other changes that Etsy have given us or applied just help us get more data, comes in faster, and we can get even more accurate now. So that's it.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Well, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
None related to this yet, but we've got about a 30-second delay, so I'm sure that there will be. But Anthony, if you're ready, I can just start shooting off questions from the chat, and we can work our way down, because we do have a lot.
Yep.
Okay, Kaz over on YouTube asked, what are your thoughts on the Instagram update? The whole buying a verification badge and having more exposure if you do, and those who don't apparently being shown less to others. Anytime something new is introduced, we can't really speak on it until we test it out and we see the results of it. My instinct is that, just like with Twitter, it's not going to mean as much. It's not going to mean as much if you can just buy it. You haven't genuinely been verified by the platform. And I can predict that this might be much the same, but I just don't know yet. Yeah, I think that we need a little bit more time to see how I don't even think that it's available yet. So I will say that Instagram CEO, Adam Masari, he's a really smart guy. I highly recommend following him on Instagram, because anytime there's an update, he shares it there. He puts a lot of thought into how he presents any update that Instagram does and why they've decided to make that update. He comes in and does like a little brief on his Instagram account. So I haven't seen any videos that he's done about this update yet. I'm sure that he has one on his Instagram account though. So if I were you and you're concerned about it, go watch that and keep an eye on his Instagram. It's Adam Mosari, but you can just Google Instagram CEO and find his name, and then find his account on Instagram to follow him. Trust me, it's not hard to find the CEO of the platform when you search for him. He makes sure that you can find him easily. It's like Tom on MySpace.
And his videos are really worth watching, as Starla says. I don't think any other platform does that, do they? They really get in there and announce what they're up to, which is really good.
Yeah. All right. Brooke over on YouTube. I tried the rank on eRank, and for one of my items, it says it doesn't rank in 500 items on Etsy, but how do I get it ranked higher?
Yeah, that's a super big question.
That's a can of worms.
Yeah. So best way is for people to search for those keywords, find your listing, and buy it. Sounds easy, but if they've got to go through 10 pages to find it, that's kind of hard. I would be making sure that those words stand out in your listing's title or tags. So Etsy don't encourage you to copy everything from your title into your tags, but if those keywords are your superstar keywords, like the ones you want to be found for, make sure they're in your title and make sure that they're in your tags as well. And for good measure, feel free to put in your description, because that does help with matching nowadays. That's the best way where you've got direct influence on ranking. After that, there's all the indirect things. So it's this stuff that's hard to fake. Actually selling it, getting a positive review, getting more positive reviews, things like that. So they're a bit harder. But if you've got those keywords in your title and tags and description, you're probably, I don't know, I think you maybe just have to sit back and wait a little bit.
Yeah, and there's always ways to spend that time. You could be promoting on social media. Etsy doesn't care how people found the listing. If they buy it, Etsy's like, oh, good for you. They're more willing to show that listing to more people.
A little bit more trust. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you often see listings that are ranking really, really high that have terrible SEO. Etsy doesn't really even care that their titles and tags aren't that great, because they've already proved to Etsy that people love this item. People want to buy it. People give it lots of good reviews. Etsy knows that they're going to make money on it, and they know you're going to make money on it. And they know that the customer is going to be satisfied with it because it has a good track record. So Etsy's going to show that listing to more people. So spend some time driving traffic to your Etsy shop. And sometimes that takes opening a whole new can of worms, which is jumping on social media, experimenting with Pinterest. Instagram is my favorite, but there are tons of social media platforms that sellers find success with. TikTok is a big one. Just don't sit and twiddle your thumbs. Always spend your time doing something resourceful.
Absolutely. I will quickly say, though, is to check that your keywords are decent keywords. What you're trying to rank for is good. And there's a whole lot that go into that. We have just released a few videos on keywords on this YouTube channel. I see you're on YouTube, so check them out. But simply, you're wanting to look at the amount of competition you've got for those keywords. You want to look at how many people are searching for those keywords and how relevant it is to your items. One thing we talk about a whole lot. I mean, if you're searching and seeing where your listing shows up for the keyword ring, you're not likely to rank because there's millions of listings for that keyword. It's not very specific, so it's unlikely to be very relevant for what the person wants. So just check it's a good keyword, and then do the things the other guy said.
All right. I think your name is Nezreen over on YouTube. Why are Etsy visits so low this February? Compared to what? Compared to when?
Christmas. Compared to Christmas time.
Right. Compared to Christmas, first of all, I do want to state, and this is a question that Pam and I get almost every week, but I just want to throw it out there just in case we have anybody who started their shop in 2019, 2020. We always have sellers who jump on and say, Etsy's dying, traffic is dying, because they started during the pandemic when everybody was stuck at home and they were in front of their computers and they had stimulus checks and they were buying fun things on Etsy and, trying to blow some of their boredom. So it can feel like Etsy's dying, but when we actually look at the grand scale of Etsy and we exclude that anomaly that was the pandemic, Etsy's actually doing quite well. February, why were visits so low in February? It's right after the holidays. People are saving money. There is a lot of tension going on in the world right now. There's a lot of economic tension. There's a lot of political tension. People are saving their money. They're holding on to things. We're seeing less, kind of fun purchases and more essential purchases. That doesn't mean that there isn't hope. It just means that we need to expect that the next few months are probably going to be slow, because they usually are. Spring and summer on Etsy is usually very, very slow, and things start picking back up again around, late August to September.
Yeah. And you got to pick your time of year as well. I was going to add there, credit cards are maxed out after Christmas. So that's also the case for a lot of people. One thing that I noticed a lot at this time of the year, and we've been doing this for many years now, all three of us, that Christmas time it's like that hangover period now. So that happens every year. So don't fret about that. But have a look at what else is selling, because sometimes if you diversify, you can start to find other revenue streams, so that when ugly Christmas sweaters aren't selling, you may find spring dresses maybe selling. The other one that fascinates me, and I just bought some of these the other day, are seeds. So I don't know if you know, but I like gardening. And I got some seeds, and I realized that seeds are hot right now. They are like nuts. Seed geeks, others that are out there are just going crazy. So you got to also look at the time of year as well. It's not the end of the world for Etsy. They bounce back all the time. It just means that the interest has shifted, and if you can diversify, I'm not saying seeds is for everyone, but find your spring niche.
Yeah. And, people might not be on Etsy shopping, but that doesn't mean that you can't drive them to Etsy. Because there are people on Instagram, springtime, they're posting their pictures. They're still maintaining their social media accounts. If you're advertising on these platforms, you can drive them directly to your shop and then not just rely on the traffic that may or may not be great right now on Etsy. There are options.
Yeah, one super interesting thing. Well, first of all, I've been on Etsy since 2008. Every single month in all of the forums, somebody saying, why is it so quiet on Etsy? Since 2008. This is nothing new. I know it feels like it. But Jan is our kind of keyword expert into all the trends, and she writes the monthly trend report. And I was talking to her a couple of weeks ago, and there's something that's really interesting in that all through the pandemic, our top 10 monthly keywords were pretty static. Nothing changed much. But in the past few months, the top 10 keywords have been changing. So what people are searching for one month is completely different to what they're searching for the next. So like Anthony says, it's maybe not pivoting into wildly different things, but it might be simple words. Sometimes people search for the word personalized, sometimes they search for the word customized. Just keep an eye on what the actual customers are in your niche are looking for just now. It is varying just now, but it doesn't mean you can't make sales. Plenty of people are doing well. You just finding those trends.
Yeah. As you sell on Etsy, you learn after a while that sometimes you have to take that holiday money that you make and make it last. You got to make it stretch. And most sellers do have a dry spring and summer. Unless you're selling bikinis and beach bags, it's very likely that you're going to have those slow sales. So just get in the habit of, if you have a fantastic holiday, just know that you might need to kind of ration that money out for a couple months. All right. Dustin over on YouTube. Ooh, he's got the question. Where is it on the site to find low competing niches without having to do a lot of searching? Dustin wants to be efficient.
Yeah. I think we could probably do a little better job here. But yeah, I would typically be looking in the related searches or keyword idea section of the keyword tool or the keyword explorer. That's where I would go, to scroll down there and sort by one of those columns.
Yeah, unless you're trying.
I dare say Dustin's probably already doing that. So
yeah. Dustin, are you trying to start a new business and you're looking for something that a new profitable niche, or are you trying to find things related to what you already create? Because if you already create, we'll say, print on demand t-shirts, it might be worth your time to go into our monthly trend report in our trends tab and scroll down to our new little POD section and see what the trendy shirt topics are. And Pam and I talk about this all the time, but you can take a lot of these themes and stack them together. So for example, we've seen wall art has been really, really trendy for the last few months on Etsy. So if you want to do wall art, rather than just saying, okay, all wall art is trending, maybe you look at some of the other trends and decide, okay, coffee is also trending. Well, I don't sell coffee, but maybe I could make coffee bar themed wall art. Or I just did a demonstration where, maybe you sell t-shirts. if you go into the toys and games section of our monthly trend report, you can find really cool, maybe like Dungeons and Dragons has been trending. Well, you can't do Dungeons and Dragons themed products because, trademarks. However, you could make a cool like dragon, sitting in a coffee cup, or a dragon next to a D20, and still take advantage of trends that you're not necessarily seeing specifically in that t-shirt niche, but that can be applied to shirts. You just have to get a little bit creative with it.
And guys, the February data's up. This surprised me. Like the team got this up super fast this month.
Yeah, we're pretty quick this time. Getting better.
Yeah.
All right. The Irish Printables Co. I sell printables. Wow. Awesome. Let's see. If I have, for example, a rainbow heart that I want to sell in 3 categories: LGBT pride, Valentine's Day, and nursery decor, do I create 3 listings with the same design? If you're trying to, are you trying to list it within different categories on Etsy, like your attributes? Or are you trying to get it into different shop sections that you've created within your own shop? Because I've also seen sellers do that, where they'll duplicate their listings within their own shop a bunch of times in order to hit all of their categories. My question is always, what if I go to your shop and I find 2 printables and they look almost identical and I can't tell the difference between them, and I'm confused about what the difference is, and if I can't figure it out, I'm just not going to buy. I'm not a big fan of just duplicating listings for the sake of having a bunch of listings. Unless you're running an A/B split test and doing, small scale experiments.
Yeah, I'd probably pick the most relevant category and stick with that. The beauty is that most people don't filter by category. So you just need to be relevant, I think.
Yeah. Also, it's not quite so important for printables, but to me, my little sort of, what niche are you aiming for here? I can see LGBT Pride and Valentine's Day could work together, but a shop that also has nursery decor, it's going to be hard for you to be marketing yourself. Maybe you don't have to. A printable shop can have a whole range of things, but I could see a lot of them do a lot better with more of a cohesive idea, so you know who you're marketing to.
Yeah, it can be hard. And I was just talking to Martin from Printify. I just had a meeting with him, and he said that even with the print on demand shops, he seldom sees POD companies take off, or POD shops take off, by trying to create as many different products as they possibly can and hitting as many niches as they can. He said that their top sellers for Printify and, some of the shops that they showcase and interview are the shops that pick a niche and they stick to it. So it's not something that you have to do, but we hear all the time. And if you go to Etsy, or I'm sorry, you go to eRank and you look in the top sellers report, most of the top sellers on eRank, these are like shops that likely make well over $1 million. They have so many sales. They've been around forever, and they all specialize in a niche. So yeah. All right. Lenore over on YouTube. How do you open a new Etsy shop when you already have one? I want to start a completely different shop that is unrelated to my current. I think that you just have to open it under a different email address.
Yeah, you have to create a new Etsy account under a new email address. You can use the same banking details, but you need a different email address. And yeah, then do all the steps, and then check in the handbook where you have to put into your shops that you're connected. Like, hey, I have 2 shops here, so that Etsy knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
relatively straightforward. I think many people that have more than one shop will have maybe one shop in the browser and one shop in the app, or on 2 different browsers, because it's an absolute pain to log in and out. I really wish they would give us the option to run more than one shop from the same dashboard, but they don't. So
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, they don't
it
want to
hasn't
have people.
It's
happened.
complicated.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't want people opening 600 shops and being able to, just load in a bunch of junk.
Yeah, I suppose the easier they make it, you forget there's always the people that spam in massive bulk, and will have 2 million shops if you let them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Mega Creative Studio. Keywords for German market. Are you planning to update/improve it? I get this question all the time, Anthony.
So yes, we are. And I left a message for you as well. Please, I'd love to hear from you. So to help us improve, we need examples. So if you see something, you search for a certain term and you get something that's very unexpected back, irrelevant suggestions or just nothing, no data, whatever it is, let us know, because that gives the team hints on where to look, what we need to improve and work on. So please just shoot us an email, support@erank.com, and let us know. The more examples we have, the better it is. We are not native German speakers, so we need your help there. So please don't sort of stew in silence. Let us know, give us some examples, and that'll really help us progress this. We really want to do a great job for Germany, France, and possibly a few other non-English speaking markets as well. I nearly let something slip there. So.
All right, let's see. May over on Facebook. Ooh, this was 28 minutes ago, so I hope you're still here, May. Let us know. She asked, is it okay to have 2 Etsy stores? Which I think we just answered that. You can have more than one. But she said, and if so, do we link both to one Shopify store? And that's where I'm getting a little stuck.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never actually heard that before.
Don't know. That might be a Shopify question.
Yeah, I would. I'm sure that they've got a great support, because yeah, I would just drop them an email and ask them if they have any guidance. Because if you can do it, it's very likely that they've got an article that you can read or a video. Because I know that they stay pretty on top of their education program for their interface.
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking is, if you've decided your niches are so different that you need to have 2 Etsy stores, wouldn't you kind of be wanting to have 2 Shopify stores as well? I haven't done much through Shopify, but yes, it's worth asking Shopify anyway.
Yeah.
Jillian said yes. She's got 3 shops linked to her Shopify.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
And her shops, she does one digital and one physical. So her brand is able to remain cohesive with different product types. So that would be the only weird thing, May, is like if you sold, like we always say, antique cigar boxes and baby clothes, kind of a weird thing to put into the same store.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that we had. We've got about 15 more minutes. Anthony, did you want to quickly speed round those updates one more time for those who might have joined us late?
Yeah. So very briefly, Etsy are making changes to their system where we get that allows us to get information about your shop. So they're retiring their old system at the end of this month, and a new one starts. We've been working on integrating this new system for the better part of a year now, and started to roll out some changes, but there are some more coming around the corner. So first of all, the bad buyer check, where you can type in a buyer's username and figure out whether they're a good buyer or a sketchy one, that's going away at the end of the month. So if you like that, sorry, you'll have to reach out to Etsy and say, please help, eRank do that. Or Karen Check is another site that does a good job of that as well. So
all of those will be going away, though, right? It's not just all of those will be going away. Even other sites that offer it. It's not just
anyone that offers. I don't know what other sites do, but anyone that's been using that service from Etsy, it gets shut at the end of the month. There's a lot of positives as well. So we've been able to dramatically increase our shop database. So the top sellers report is going to be filled with more shops now. Your sales rank is going to drop, unfortunately, because more shops in there now. Doesn't mean you've been punished by Etsy or anyone else. It just means you've lost a little bit of bragging rights if you've gone from 1%, top 1% to maybe top 2% or something like that. So don't fret about that. It's good. Gives you more information to research and so forth. So that'll come out probably middle of next week. It's given us a chance to speed up the competitor sales tool, because I know that some people, especially the expert plan users, where they've got like 200 shops they're tracking, that can be quite slow. So you'll find that gets a lot faster now. And there are some other changes we're making to the keyword tool and keyword explorer, thanks to some of the work that Etsy's been doing. So I'll talk more about those in a few weeks from now. Lastly, and this is unrelated to the Etsy changes, we are about to change our software that we use for handling customer support. And it's going to bring us into the 21st century. It's going to be much easier for us to communicate with you, and we'll be exploring providing chat support as well. So providing we don't get a bunch of jerks being rude to the team, we'll probably turn that on initially just to gauge how it works, and then if it goes well, then we'll roll it out to everyone.
Perfect. And we've played with it, and it's really, really nice. If you are stuck on something, if you don't know how to use a tool, you'll be able to find a lot more help, because we know that sometimes you land on eRank and you don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to work on, and you don't know how the tools work. So this will help you a lot. And if you have a question, you'll be able to actually reach out to our support team and get answers quickly. So
I might even turn it on early next week or over the weekend just to experiment, and I'll be there answering questions. So
cool.
I'm very keen to see. Yeah, because like as a founder of a company, it's not often I get time to check emails and messages and things like that now. There's plenty of people that are waiting for replies. It's you get pretty busy. So I think it'd be fun just to get in there and see what's happening, hear it directly from people. I think we've got a few more questions coming in, Starla.
Yeah. The Irish Printables Co. Answering your question, Rainbow Hearts. I want to market the one design to people searching for all three things. Do you think just pick one area, include keywords for all three areas? I pretty much every time people ask Pam and I this or this, should I do this or this? Should I test this or this? We can't give you an answer on what's going to work the best, because you won't know until you test it. If you find that using all three of those niches in your keywords isn't, hitting the audiences that you want, try to refine it a little bit and focus on just one of those niches. But until you test, there's really no way to tell you if it's going to do well or not, unfortunately. And it looks like there was a follow-up. If you set up a print-on-demand shop when someone buys something, does the money from the sale go directly to pay Printify, or do you have to pay them separately? And when does that happen? It should be automatic, both with Printify, Printful, Printed Mint. As long as your integration is actually set up correctly, then it should just automatically deduct. I know that some of them can be a big pain in the butt. I know for a fact that Printful can be a pain in the butt to set up, specifically because sometimes it unsyncs itself. So you kind of have to keep an eye on them. Don't ever assume that starting a print-on-demand business, you're going to be able to just like log offline and walk away. If you want a business like that, you have to do like Redbubble, where they handle everything, customer service. You just upload your designs and they do everything for you. But with any print-on-demand service, just expect to keep a close eye on things, because stuff goes wonky, things go out of sync, stock runs out from the distributors. You have to constantly look at these things. But in terms of actually connecting the two, it should just deduct automatically from your purchases the moment that the order goes through.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest myth, that people are taking advice to make money fast, start up a print-on-demand shop. It's dead easy. And yeah, it's definitely not dead. It's not sit back and the sales come running in. It's going to be work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Everything
the
is.
ease is greatly exaggerated.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Aldrich. Looks like this is a two-parter. I have two very different shops, but only one sales comparison with max 50 shops for both. Could we get sales comparisons separated by the connected shops or more than 50 shops?
Yeah, that's a great question that a lot of people have raised. So in terms of separating, right now, we don't have a lot, but I would utilize the notes column. So I would put in perhaps shop name number 1 in the notes column for all those competitors that compete with that shop, and then in the competitors for the other shop, put in that shop name or something like that. Use the notes section to separate the two groups of competitors that you have, and then you can click on that notes heading and sort accordingly. So that's the best I can offer you right now, but we are aware of that request and we're working on getting something so that you can start to split them out and filter based on whatever shop you're looking at the time. As for the second part, yep, we have an expert plan now, which allows you to track up to 200 shops. So it's more expensive, but yeah, you get a lot more for it. So you can certainly consider that. But we probably won't be expanding the number of shops within the Pro plan or the basic plan.
Yeah, and there was a follow-up. He had said the same goes for superstar keywords. It would be nice to only see data related to one specific shop and not both mixed together.
That's a great idea. Haven't thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for raising it. We'll look into that.
All right. Eco-Tour Handmaids. When will Etsy bots learn the difference between metal and gray with an E / gray with an A between wool and cotton? As someone that is very careful to state the differences, my makes get lumped in with the wrong things.
Yeah, that's something you're probably going to have to message Etsy about. If you're getting seen through Etsy ads, you can go into your Etsy ads dashboard, into the listing, and switch off certain keywords. I don't know how good it is. I've been playing around with it, but you do have the option if you're getting found for the wrong things. But when are Etsy bots going to learn? Yeah, good question. Sadly, we do not have control over the Etsy bots.
Yeah. All right. And it looks like our last one is from Stephanie. How long after a sale does it take for the buyer to be able to give a review? When should I follow up with a buyer to ask for a review? I believe there's actually a policy that Etsy says we're not allowed to just message the customer and ask them for a review. You can ask them nicely for a review, but it needs to be related to something else. So, for example, I've got my swipe files that I've been, giving to sellers for, oh God, we're going on 6 years now, which those kind of follow the process of the transaction placed on Etsy, the 4 points of contact that you should be making with your buyers after you've made the sale, to confirm the order, once the order is shipped, to let them know that it's shipped, once it's arrived, which is where you kind of can throw in like a PS, hey, if you don't know how to leave a review, here's how you can do it. Because a lot of buyers, it's not that they don't want to leave a review, they just don't know how. So rather than saying, leave me a review, you can very subtly put in, if you would like to leave a review, you can do this. And then thanking them for the review, which you don't have to message them for that. Now that you can respond directly to reviews, I recommend doing that instead, because it locks that review in so they can't go back and change it later. But in terms of how long after a sale does it take for the buyer to be able to give a review, I believe it's right after the expected arrival date, right?
Yeah, it's based on your processing times. I'm not sure if you've got tracking, if it shows delivered, if that updates, but I know it's definitely the amount of time that Etsy is estimating it should have arrived by, and Etsy messages the customer when that happens. So I definitely wouldn't. I think Starla's right that we're not supposed to message them with that, but I would double not message them with just saying, "Hey, give me a review," because Etsy's already. Every time they log in, they're getting a pop-up saying, "You haven't left a review for Starla. Go and leave a review for Starla." So they get pretty angry, especially if the postal service is running late and they haven't got your item yet. So.
Yes. Christine said post-purchase review is a suggested snippet. So maybe they've changed things. I know that right after my swipe files blew up, Etsy started recommending something very, very similar because so many people were suddenly doing it. So yeah, just be tactful about it. Don't be pushy. And don't bug them over and over. Send them your one message. And if they don't leave a review, then don't worry about it. Or if they message you to say how much they like the item, but they, didn't actually go leave a review, I wouldn't bug them about it either. I would just say, oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's one of these things is what value to the customer is that message bringing? And just saying, give me a review is all for you. It's not helping the customer. But if you message them saying, I see you received your item. Is everything okay? Was there anything I can help you with? I'd love for you to be delighted by it. Then that's offering benefit to them. So yeah, never do stuff or don't too often do stuff that's just for you, else that gets really annoying.
All right. Now we've got probably time for this very last one. And I feel embarrassed to answer this one, Anthony. So
Okay.
not about eRank. Yeah, not about eRank. Do you think Etsy will finally do something about Disney, Alibaba sellers, etc., after the latest criticism, which I might know a little bit about that criticism by
yeah, I think that criticism, if we're talking about the same thing here, was some poorly researched piece by a short seller whose motivation was purely to push down the Etsy share price. So mission accomplished, well done.
It's right back up.
Yeah. They already do stuff, and they haven't not been doing stuff. You try and sell Disney stuff, you get caught eventually. So, that's just how it is. Alibaba stuff, again, Etsy got pretty clear rules around what you can and cannot sell. So you flaunt it, they will catch you. Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the Disney stuff and all that, at the minute in time, what Etsy's following is the law for IP stuff and things like, and copyright, trademark, all the rest of it. The copyright holder has to request that Etsy takes it down. So Etsy's doing what it has to do. I do wonder with the Alibaba stuff, they are looking into they are constantly looking at things. So we might see changes over the years. Hopefully it's not going to be really quick, because if it's really quick, then it might it might be a little bit of a pain for us. Hopefully it's rolled out slowly, but I think we'll always see changes as more people come onto the platform and abuse it. Etsy has to keep up with that and change.
Yeah. And I mean, I talked to the guy who wrote the article, and what I told him is the same thing I'm going to tell you guys. It's that people who break the rules on Etsy are no different than the citizen who occasionally breaks traffic laws. There are people that aren't going to follow the rules. But writing an article that points at Etsy like it's this one big company that creates a bunch of products, it's not the same as pointing fingers at Nike, who creates all of their own products. We are all individual sellers within a shopping mall, and we all have our own responsibilities. And when at your local grocery store, if there's a recall on carrots, it's not the grocery store who's responsible for any issues that were related to the recall on the carrots. It's the person who provided the carrots to the grocery store. And to say that, you know, Etsy itself as a whole is wrong, that's not really fair either, because Etsy is doing their best with the tools that they have right now to, you know, to catch these sellers. And I know that it doesn't seem that way, because you can go and you can type Disney into Etsy and have a bunch of listings pop up, but it's Disney that needs to report those listings. And Etsy has made it very easy. They've got a brand new IP reporting portal that they introduced last year, where all you have to do is, you know, generate the page of the items that infringe on your trademark or copyright, and ding, 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 you can just go down the list and report all of them. So it's really the companies that own these brands that need to buckle down and send their lawyers to Etsy to make these reports.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Etsy, is it? If you looked on any any site, it's just because Etsy got suddenly very popular. Etsy did really well in the past couple of years, so more people are hearing of it and thinking, "Oh, here's an easy way to make money."
Yeah, and somebody on Facebook had said, Steve, if you try to list Disney on Amazon, they will shut down your account. Etsy can do something.
I don't know what Amazon's policies are, but like I said, this is the law just now that Etsy is following. I can't say what Amazon do. And
I think there's also the issues of, you can legally sell, and I'm not an, you know, legal expert. Make sure that you consult your own lawyers before you take my advice directly about this. But when you're reselling we'll say a vintage product, like a old vintage, you know, Disneyland sweatshirt or something, and it is a vintage item, you can sell that on Etsy. So utilizing the keyword Disney in your search terms at that point, there is no way around the algorithm if we just were to put a blanket algorithm out there that caught the word Disney by itself, because then it would catch items that also don't qualify in terms of, you know, vintage products, which might be why Etsy hasn't, because with their amber jewelry ban, if you list something where the color is amber or your name is amber and you've put your own name in your title or tags, Etsy will not shut your shop down, but they will deactivate that listing. So, Steve, my biggest piece of advice is to contact Etsy and let them know. You know, I'm sure that you're not the only person who's done it, but if it's important to you, then contact them, because you guys know, I mean, most of you hopefully have seen the countless videos that I've been covering over these exact same stories over the last year. I mean, we're right there with you. We know that it's a big problem, and Etsy would be a much better place if it was, you know, everybody did follow the rules. But we can't say that Etsy can do something when we don't know how their infrastructure is set up.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to add there as well, to get a little technical. I would imagine that Amazon's data is structured in a more organized manner than Etsy's. I won't bore you with the details why I believe that, but I think it, just by the way that Amazon is structured, it makes it easier for them to do something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just think of it in terms of money. How much money does Etsy have versus Amazon? Amazon is a pretty big empire compared to Etsy. They've got more play money to develop really cool things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is 4:04, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you click the link down in the video description and join our eRank Facebook group. If you have questions during the week or you want a quick answer, you can always post in there. Or if you want to get your questions in early for next Thursday's Q&A, you can pop those into our Wednesday post. Actually, Anthony, are we going to do Q&A this upcoming Thursday? Because that's the Printify webinar day. We technically could, but they'll overlap and I won't be here. Or we could just postpone this one. That way we can postpone it by like 30 minutes.
Yeah, let's figure something out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So
we may or may not have to keep an eye out to find out then.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out, and we will possibly, hopefully, see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.